unotombokanganwa kuti live band munoti pamwe CD here iri kuridza. They are so seamless, so smooth, and so brilliant. Thank you so much.
Well, I've been getting lots of compliments about how good I'm looking. I must say, though, you make that dress look really amazing.
Oh, thank you. I just picked this out from my closet, and I thought I'd go with corporate colors. Did I do well? I tried.
But the truth of the matter is I have been getting compliments of how well we are doing. If they only knew how much we are fighting in the background.
Standard, but we generally don't tell people that part. We just come out here and make everything go well. I hope everybody has had dinner. I hope everyone has enjoyed the food. Can we get an applause for how good the food was? All right. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. We'll take it.
A survey is not a survey unless we have research. Mm-hmm. The next man I'm about to introduce is a man that I've known when I started off in work, coming straight out of university. An amazing man, very humble, very hardworking. His business has taken him into 24 Pan-African countries. So he's Pan-African himself. He is affectionately known as PG. Ladies and gentlemen, would you help me please welcome the CEO of Top Line Research Solutions, Patson Gasura.
And as he comes up, I must mention that he did the national branding survey when Zimbabwe went to the Dubai Expo. So when we talk about international exposure, the man and his team know what they're doing. Ladies and gentlemen, I must announce, if we can just have silence in this moment, this is important. Zvatafambira panapa nasi, ndo zvakuitika panapa. We have one more item on this agenda, and this survey presentation is going to explain exactly, in every sense, what we're gathered here for tonight. So those that are still getting food, please make your way back to your seats. Because pamnozova panapa munoti tafambirei. So we want you to understand and fully appreciate the research, the effort, and the depth that went into what is being presented here tonight. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Ruveneko. And again, as instructed, all protocols observed. But I must say, there are two things that got me excited today. One is obviously this event, especially when people started congratulating me before I even presented. I think I've seen about 9 of my clients so far. I see so many of them. I've just met 9. And all of them congratulated. And I asked one, but why? They said, just the idea. This idea is amazing. So can we clap hands for the real owners of the idea? The real brains between this idea. The second thing that gets me happy is we received some rains, some meaningful rains today. And our dear professor, who happens to be an agricultural economist and was my lecturer at university, has endorsed that these are actually real rains. When we're sitting at the back, there's some, what was that, professor? Was that Ishwa? There's some Ishwa or some termites. So, and he said, guys, these rains are real. So if there are any of you who are in agriculture and are in doubt of starting, it has started. Thank you very much. So it's all about service. This is business, ladies and gentlemen. This is serious business. The whole initiative is about service as we know it. Customer delight. It's about making an impact to our businesses, to our sectors, and ultimately to the country. And at the end of the day, this nation can become prosperous because of service. Now, the figures actually say 60% of the global gross domestic product is attributable to the service economy. And this is according to the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. You bring that home, 56 57% of our GDP is attributable to the services economy, according to the World Bank. Now, those are figures that we cannot afford to ignore. You know, many people, when they think of investors, when they think of foreign investors, it's very easy to think of, you know, mining, to think of agriculture, to think of infrastructure, and here you go. The services sector itself is a significant contributor to GDP. Now, the World Bank identified 10 services economy sectors as key anchors for the economy. And in this survey, which you now know, SOSES, those 10 were actually covered in the survey. They are not an exhaustive list. This is green space. This is something happening for the first time. I'm sure with time, as the drivers of the initiative go on with it, other sectors can be accommodated. Now, after realizing the importance of this sector, as we've heard from the chief, Dr. Shepard there, they took it upon themselves as a customer-centric organization to actually do something about it. And they put together some partners represented by TATU, the creatives, and Financial Gazette, the media partners who amplify the story. And I must hasten to add that we found ourselves in that arrangement as top-line research solutions. So I'm really excited. But ZBF has commenced a transformational journey in which they would like the customer to be at the center of all they do, and therefore they adopted the payoff line, which many people know as ZB for you. I'll go straight into the objectives of the survey. So first, it's about profiling, understanding the demographics of the services sector economy. And then secondly, it's a measurement. It's like a yardstick. What's really currently happening in the services economy in terms of service delivery. And we also wanted to measure performance of the various sectors in the services economy. Fortunately or unfortunately, at this juncture, it's not an awards event. When you start seeing the ratings, you'll be tempted to want to give awards. But that's not the idea. This is mobilization for all of us as a nation to do something about service. You and me have got stories about service experience. The last time I checked, most of these stories were apparently negative. And I do know some of you have got testimonies of bad service experience you got today. And the partners here are saying it's time for action. Now, we're also going to pinpoint. You know, when research is done, people usually say, so what? We are going to pinpoint through this survey how Zimbabweans, how organizations define excellent service. When they say you deliver poor service, what do they actually mean? So the work is cut out for all of us. And then the other objective is to then introduce some metrics that will be tracked over time. The customer satisfaction index, the customer effort score, the customer experience, and then there is the SOSES index, which makes this initiative unique and different from any other customer service initiatives you may know about. And this is going to be a benchmark in itself. At the end, I'm going to give you some recommendations. They are called recommendations because you can adopt them, you may choose not to adopt them. It's a survey that covered all constituencies, individuals, corporates, NGOs, and it's a very comprehensive study in terms of sample sizes. We work with ZimStats, being the mother of all research institutions in the country, using their census data to make sure the sample is rigorous, is representative. So a sample of 2,000 individuals, 500 corporates is really robust by Zimbabwean standards. Even in other countries in South Africa, it's rare to see companies do corporate studies with more than 500 interviews. And then we also did some focus group discussions with the customers of service. Focus group discussions to capture the narrative. What do people commonly say about service? It's part of the report. Obviously, I'm not going to say all this in this. This is a teaser. The organizers will talk at the end about how you actually access the report, which has got all the detail. And then the last thing we did is the mystery shopper. So we did interviews, and then we went in there to verify. Mystery shopper is observation research to verify whether the service being claimed is reality. National, covering urban and rural, and it's a very recent study. We completed it end of November, and today we are unveiling the results, and therefore these trends apply. Very quickly, some terminology I shall be using throughout. The customer satisfaction index is simply a measure of customer happiness with your service on a 100% score. So the closer it is to 100, the better. The customer effort score is what authorities would call, or business people would call, ease of doing business. How easy or difficult is it to access your service? The closer to 100 it is, the better. And then customer experience is an assessment of the service provider based on the actual engagement. Do you offer an experience, or you just offer a product or a service? And then the National SOSES Service Index. This is now a composite index. And this is the exciting part. This is where Tattoo, ZB, and Financial Gazette have said, let's come up with a composite index that takes into account all the three parameters. And that's the SOSES index for the country, for the corporates, and for the sectors. So in the report, you'll be able to see how even the companies performed. Impact at all levels. Customers must wonder what's really now happening in Zimbabwe. We must impact customers. The same with even at a national level. Investors must wonder what's really happening. We've always known Zimbabweans to be woman-friendly people, but when it comes to service, that warmth is actually not experienced. It's a contradiction. So we really want this research to make that impact. And of course, we must be passionate about this if we're going to realize a value out of it. Let me come to, I've got 60 slides to go through in 20 minutes. You can imagine the speed. You can bear with me. This is the profile of the service, the people who buy service in the country. Largely youthful. 60% of the customers of service in this country are actually under 40 years of age, depending on how you define youth. If you go for under 35, that's 50%. That then says when you come with service improvement interventions, you've got to know who you're dealing with. Largely youthful, slightly skewed toward the female, 51%, but almost balanced by gender. In terms of the when it comes to the business, you will see that in the report we covered all the segments. The large corporates, the SMEs, the government institutions. But if you go to business, that's how the sectors were represented, led by retail sector. So when you talk business, retail is the biggest there, but all sectors by and large were represented. Let's come to how the customers, the overview, service expectations will, when they define excellent service, how do they really define it? We came up with themes, and one of the themes is, I called it the 4 A's. You must be accessible, you must be available, you must have the ability to deliver the service, and you do so accurately. And then the second is about the automation. Your platforms must be digitalized. And then they are looking for speed. And then there's a lot of elements that revolve around staff. And we call that staff efficacy. This is staff expertise. They expect staff knowledge. They expect staff empathy. Staff will impact service. And then query management. You'll see there are some sectors where the top consideration in transforming service is simply management of queries. Then there were a few others. So these are 5. There are a few others on the next slide. Proactive communication. So it's not just communication. Proactive. If you know that electricity is going to go, tell us in advance. That is what they're talking about. Responsiveness, consistency. We expect you to know it before us. And then value for money. Now, this is one of the key slides as I whiz through this. Sectoral performance insights. So out of those 10 sectors, out of the 10 sectors that we covered, you can see those are the ratings out of 100. So you've got your sectoral SOSES index, where banking is at 72%, education 64%, and so forth. And you can see the highest there is the energy sector at 79%. Now, obviously, when you look at these percentages, if it was at school, these are pass marks, everybody has passed. But this is business, where customers have got a choice. I want you to imagine a situation where you actually go to a hospital and then, or to a healthcare facility, and on the door it's written by this surgeon, there's actually 60% chance that you will be happy with my service. Because that is what that percentage means. Would you go in and allow that surgeon to operate you? So this is why some people talk benchmarks, but at this inaugural stage, we're saying before we go benchmarks, which are available in the report anyway, there's a local benchmark, a regional benchmark, international benchmark, but the story here is, look at your sector. Before you say we are 79, ask yourself, who are those 21% that you want to frustrate, depending on the sector? Let's go to the financial service sector. I'm now unpacking each of those 10 sectors, sector by sector. And the program directors, you can stop me when it starts boring, then I go to conclusions. In the banking sector, this slide, let me go to the SOSES sector score for the banking sector. It's 74%. But if you are looking at customer satisfaction index, which is a component of the SOSES index, it's 77%. However, customer effort score, it's lower than the satisfaction. You make us happy, but it's a little bit difficult for us to access you. And then the customer experience, it's 75%. On the left here is, what do they look for? What do they need when they say they are being delighted by a bank? It's responsiveness to queries. That's how problematic queries have become. They actually define service in this market. And looking at work in the region, this is peculiar to our country, by the way. And then staff knowledge, quick query resolution, and then they bring staff. This is not factors for choosing a bank. It's when they've chosen it, when they are there, when they're inside, what makes them say, we are engaged, we are delighted. Next sector, microfinance, equally high. If it was at school, it's 70%. That's the index, the SOSES index. But the customer satisfaction index, you can see 69. There is 69%. And what defines excellent service? It's ease of application process. That's where the intervention is needed. Quick loan approval. So make it easy for us to apply. And then if you approve very fast, you are satisfying us. Next sector. If you come to the insurance sector, it's really about speed. If you start with the funeral insurance sector, and we all know insurance is about claims. So when they're talking about services, they're talking about claims. When someone has died, for example. Now they're saying, as we interact with you, better be fast about it. If you are fast, 79% are saying, 78% are saying, you are delighting us. If you communicate with us regularly during this funeral, you're offering excellent service. And that translates to a very high SOSES index of 75.3%. And even if you look at the lowest in the sector and the highest, 68 to 79, the lowest rating is even very high. This is a sector, if you ask me, that is doing very, very well in terms of the ratings. But if you imagine that there's a foreign investor that's coming, there's a very big gap where they can cause trouble. Let's go to short term very quickly. The score, you are now used to this, 74.8. Look at the gap. The lowest is 52% in the sector. The highest is 83. You will not know in this teaser who is that who has got 52%. But when you get the report, you will know which company is that, who is between the 52 and the 83. And that's the granular detail that you need. Time taken to process the claims is the game changer. Next one. What do they expect in life assurance? It's about claims. Claims. It's the paying of claims on time and the time you take to actually then pay. There you go. You can see for yourself the highest and the lowest. Let's go. Medical aid. Somebody is not feeling well. When you're offering good service, what are you doing? Speed of dealing with what they need. And that translates to a very high 72% SOSES index. And you can see the customer satisfaction index also high. And the customer experience score is 69. And you can see the gap. So the insurance sector, generally the scores, if you ask me for a baseline survey, they are quite comfortable levels. Next. In the telecom sector, what defines service in this sector? People now want, the life is now digital. Everybody wants to be connected. And you can see a whooping 80% are saying you are not offering excellent service in this sector if you don't give me consistent availability. And that's distantly followed by issues of speed. There's even accuracy of billing. But there you go. For that sector, 72.8, 73% is the score. That is the rating. And if you look at the lowest, 63 and 82. Next one. Let's go to health sector. If you come to the hospital, and we've got two pillars there, private hospitals and public hospital. Again, like I said, look at public hospital, 46% index. Even the customer satisfaction index is 48%. 1 out of 2, or even less than 1 out of 2. And look at the private sector. They are defining what service means in the sector. 86%, 78% SOSES score. And what is it that they are looking for? I should have said at the beginning, this is really about back to basics. And in the recommendations, I used exactly the same word that the professor used. Who knew? Which South African school? Ubuntu. Now, this sector is simply asking for attention. When somebody gets there and they are not feeling well, just attend to them very, very quickly. That would transform even that public sector. Again, imagine if some institution from outside came and they are customer-centric, they will hit that 46%, and our public sector hotels will be out of business overnight. Next one, pharmaceuticals, 69% SOSES index, from 58% to 76%, and they want speed. Next one, they are not asking for too much. It's still a very basic market. They are not even asking for online or home delivery, as I see in other African countries. Pharmaceutical cluster expectations is the quick service. Next one. Performance of city councils. They range from 44. The customer level of satisfaction ranges from 44 to 68%, translating into a SOSES index of 58%. Definitely, I think if you were to lure investors to come into our country, that's an area where there are very, very clear opportunities for turning things around. Next one. Now, for parastatals, we just pick two for teasers, those that relate to many people. Zinwa is about water, 58% satisfaction index. I must say for a parastatal, this is very high. From what I see in other ratings in the SADC region, parastatals are not really associated with this level of service. But again, at 58, that leaves room for improvement, big one. And they want service, speed, they want staff helpfulness. Next one, ZETDC, from 53% to 82%. So you can see that says there are lots of inconsistencies in service delivery. One organization ranging from 53% to 82%. The action point there is seamlessness. If you're offering service in any center, people must feel the same. So that's one level of intervention, and they want speed. Look at the staff elements. Next one. The retail sector. The retail sector has got a high score of 73.3. Look at the minimum, the margin there, 68 to 81. So everything is happening in that sector in terms of service, but very high customer satisfaction index. What are they looking for? Staff friendliness. And indeed, it's friendliness as we know it, friendliness. And that is ahead of even staff helpfulness in terms of pushing your trolley, helping you pick your merchandise. That's how much, as a country, we are crying for service. Next one, we did not cover the tax shops. No, we have got the tax shops. Let's go. Next one, wholesalers. Wholesalers, similar pattern to retail, 73 satisfaction index there, a very high CSI. But when you look at what they are looking for to disrupt service, they are looking for speed ahead of friendliness of staff. Speed, this is a wholesale. You don't want to spend that much time in a wholesale compared to a supermarket. Next, there you go. The tax shops. The tax shops, in terms of the service descriptors, it's change. Availability of change is what is defined excellent service in a tax shop. And there's quick service at the till, and the staff are also friendly. And that translates into a 73% satisfaction index. So there you go. The next one, I was going to say before this, there's talk about innovation in the informal sector, and you can see from a service point of view, they are competing very strongly with the formal or the established retail organizations, as it were. Next one. When you come to clothing retail, formal retail, how do they define service? It's payment systems. It should happen fast. Personalized service translating into a 72% SOSES index, and the margin 63% to 77%. The next one, now this is where I wanted to say we did not cover the flea markets. I would have wanted us to cover it. We just did not think about it, but it will come on board on the next one. But you and me have interacted with flea markets or boutiques in one way or another. And I can tell you, if you want to know what is customer experience, it's best demonstrated in the flea markets. You get your garment, good quality, right price, and actually with some bit of romance. They will treat you nicely. They will bring your garment to your car if you are not getting any parking. Then tourism, hotels, travel agents, also very high scores. I must say I was pleasantly surprised, but I'm not taking anything away from the sector. The customers themselves are giving a very high 80%. This is one of the best performing sectors, 80% service. And where is that coming from? It's ambience. Our hotels, our catering industry service providers are doing a good job in terms of making sure that, remember, we're just coming out of COVID, and people still remember very well what that does. So hygiene is very key, and then you've got quick booking processes. It's a very important consideration. And look at the gap, 75 to 85%. They are all distinctions if it was at a school. Next one, travel agents, very quickly. The 72% is the score. and they want friendly staff who are knowledgeable, they know what they're talking about, and they also are efficient. Next one. Fast foods, it's about quick service because they are fast foods, 83%, and that translates to 74% in terms of the SOSES index. But the gap is rather wide, like in the retail sector. Lowest 56% and 80%, and this is very worrying. Remember, this is food. This is food. If that 56% is because they are slow, then that really contradicts the industry name fast. Next, transport, starting with the road transport. What do they need? There are things to do with friendliness of staff. This was another surprise. Even after verifying the data, they are saying your people, vanofana kushandika navo. And this is ahead of keeping time. This is road transport. They'll rather compromise. You can delay a bit, but give us people who can treat us as people. Translating to a 71C SOSES index and very high CSI there. Let's see air travel. Air travel, then timetable becomes very critical. 90% saying, I need to arrive when I should arrive. Remember, I'm hanging in the air somewhere. And there are people that are probably waiting for me. Friendly staff offer quality meals. This is a consideration. It's not a consideration on road transport. And if you listen to the focus groups narratives, this food is not because they did not eat where they came from. It partly manages the nervousness when we are up there. We occupy ourselves with food. And there you go, 74% CSI. And you'll see in the report again, who is between that 67% and the 82%. We're getting towards the end, ladies and gentlemen. The next sector, education, which is split into three pillars: the tertiary, the private, and the government. You can see my ICT colleagues, I think they are confirming that connectivity challenge I spoke about. There's a delay. If you look at private schools, they go 78, very high. If you look at government schools, 42%. So like the counterparts in hospitals, we see lower ratings. But let's call this an opportunity, which is the whole idea behind this initiative, to try and rally behind where service is below expectation and do something about it. Because nobody will come and do it for us. Tertiary institutions, there you go, 72%, and for the fun of it, we put tertiary institutions, that's the end of the chain, ranging from 63 to 79. In the data, you'll see which tertiary institutions are pulling or pushing the score. Next, energy sector should be the last one. You have done very well so far. I've been checking for any sleepy faces. The last is the fuel sector. And it's a sector that's doing very well. It's a very engaged sector, very high score of 78.3. It's really come in and go. Speed of service, correct quick service. And if you look at the gap there, everything's very high. Their lowest rating of 76% is actually ahead of the maximum rating for many sectors, as we have seen. So this is an example of where we want to go. They are not there yet. At 78, there's still 20-something% to deal with. So, at a national level, the national SOSES, I have just 2 slides to go. National SOSES, 69%. So your score, our score as a country is 69%. You come into Zimbabwe and you want service, there is 69% chance that you will be happy. They flip it the other way. There is 31% chance that you will be very frustrated. Let's close. In coming up with this SOSES idea, ZBF and their strategic partners, Fingers and Tatu, imagine the situation where all organizations in Zimbabwe and even all people would be motivated into treating their customers as people. So this is a revolution. It's a war we are igniting among ourselves. That let's simply treat people as people. That's the vision. Now, customer service now needs to be a unique selling point for brand Zimbabwe. It must be a reason for visitors to come here, that we serve people well. And I added there that this vision should not be difficult to realize, because by God's design, Zimbabweans are woman-friendly. Business leaders just need to allow Zimbabweans to be woman-friendly. Because at times, I go to restaurants quite often, and I see people who do not behave like Zimbabweans. But when you see them outside work, at their home, kumusha kwavo, you see the warmth and the friendliness. So SOSES is indeed about great service, impact and national prosperity. And on the next slide, if you can go, we have itemized, guided by the research, what we think, these are low-hanging fruits, as marketers would call them. Let's embrace Ubuntu as a country. Let's be proud about it. And the prof spoke about this, and I was very proud when he spoke about it, because they put it as the very first action. And this is prevalent in what is called the informal sector. I still pick people who are very grumpy about informal sector. The head office, the headquarters of the informal sector are actually people like you. So let's entrench that. Processes, automation. You have seen from the presentation, the need is speed. They want speed. The world is now digital. They want you to be responsive to queries. It's now how you respond to that, whether you do it physically or you're going to put some technology behind it. Entrench customer service excellence culture. Other organizations will call it a service charter, but I think as a country, we need to be led into adopting a culture as a strategic imperative within our businesses. That is about people first. And we need policies to support this. As the founders of this idea would say. And then there's going to be star ratings going forward for organizations that are really going to be totally customer-centric. Learn from identified customer service leaders in the country. They may not be in your sector, but if they've got a very high SOSES index, there's definitely something that they are doing right. They are not your competitor, it's easy to emulate. Even when they are within your sector, I think the adage goes, if you want to go fast, you go alone. If you want to go far, you go together. And that is my reading of this initiative, that we're being mobilized as a sector to bring this customer service so that we monetize this 50-something% contribution to GDP. Now, number 5 is actually my favorite. Outside research, I facilitate for strategy. I'm twisted by clients to actually do some training on customer service. And now we do it strategically with people like my brother Godfrey, who runs a business on training. We think there is need for sector skills development authority, an institution. South Africa has got service sector training authorities. They call them SETAs. Sector education training authorities, rather, sectors. And they have 23 of them. Every sector has got a SETA. And a SETA is to labor what universities are to education. They're about skilling. You've seen a lot of staff complaints, staff needs. We don't think universities will do that alone. There is need for that intervention. It's an opportunity. Lure investors or get into strategic partnerships with the most problematic sectors. Like you've seen, the lowest is in the public hospitals, within the utilities. They are calling for immediate intervention. We need examples. Then SOSES to go regional with this purposeful initiative. It's now clear we expected to deal with US dollars until 2030. There's no longer confusion. The vision, the trajectory is clear. And the US dollars are in the region. And we think what a perfect initiative to align with the opportunities with the Africa Continental Free Trade Area. I think there's been some sabotage there on this last slide. This was not the final. Then customized research we're saying you as a sector, you can do, if anything is missing out of this, remember research is a process. You can do your own customized. This is ZB investing in this for the whole country. You can pick and do your own. If you need benchmarking, there are sector-specific benchmarks that you can look for if you need them. Then broader scope research, we think this will be repeated definitely, and the calling is to make it broader and make sure all the other sectors that are not among the 10 are really included. And then the last is obviously a calling for you to have this knowledge institute within your business and subscribe to SOSES and have a copy of the comprehensive report for your business. I thank you.
Did you feel like that was 60 slides? Mr. Kasura, thank you very much. That was very well presented.
Absolutely.
In the news, okay, we'll wait. Ovarumbo korokotedzana aiwa shua. Yeah. No, a job well done. Ladies and gentlemen, top line research.
Yes. I love the fact that he knows his stuff.
He does.
Yeah.
He definitely does. In the news at 8 o'clock today, at the SOSES launch today in Harare, although Zimbabweans are warm and friendly, their service is poor. Proactive communication is encouraged, particularly with ZETDC. Even Ten Hag must tell his fans when Manchester is going to lose. The airline that moves fast must consider better food other than Zungu and crisps. Too much applause was given from the audience when tuck shops were mentioned because we are tired of coupons and tokens. Zimbabwe is 69% customer friendly. And when we want to go fast, we must go alone. But if we want to go far, we must go together. Ruben Barwe, ZBC News, Harare.
Come on, guys, you can give another big round of applause. That was really amazing. But can you do the same for SOSES for drivers in Zimbabwe?
SOSES?
Pama
driver, pama totaura public transport
the
drivers
in here.
Is he talking about buses? Mshika. Which one exactly?
It's these drivers and
or
those
is
ones
it you
there.
and me as drivers, but yeah, no, that was a very, very informative survey. Is there any chance people can have access to this? How do you work, Patson? Is this something that can be shared, or
it will be shared
have
shortly.
I stepped out of my jurisdiction?
Well,
Yes? Okay, no problem.
So it looks like you want more information. So there's a part that I noticed was kind of missing in your report, PG. PG, you missed out a very important one, but I have the statistics. MCs, dress and clobber, 100%. Smiles and humor. Pronunciation and wit. Command of the king's language.
King now, yes.
Index up 99%.
Love it.
Well, Ruth, it's time for us to get a vote of thanks.
Yes.
And this is not to say that we are asking people to say goodbye. It's just that we want to open up for, there's a happy hour. And to give us the vote of thanks is Dr. Brilliant Shumba. He is the Chief Customer Experience Officer at ZB Financial Holdings. Let's give him a big round of applause as he comes.
Dr. Shumba.
Thank you so much. it's always difficult to come forward after the kind of research results that we got. It reminds me when I was doing my thesis for the doctorate. The kind of numbers that you run through and the kind of numbers that you were seeing there. Doc Fungura, you resonate with these things, eh? So for me, it's just to do a vote of thanks and by the powers vested in the MC Ruveneko, I take all protocols as observed. So, as you heard, colleagues, the ZB story has been one of transformation. From the way we do business to the way we engage with our stakeholders, and as you can witness also in this event, at the center of the transformation has been the customer. If you look at all the statistics you are seeing there, it's all about the customer. Today, because of our valued customers, we proud ourselves in letting our clients lead our precious brand through honest feedback. What you have been getting here is honest feedback which was done by an independent research. This is what we stand for at ZB. We are a leading financial institution with a growing obsession of making the ambition of our customers our priority. Naturally, investing in the state of the services industry survey, a collaborative initiative with leading brands, was a no-brainer for us as ZB. Because for us, anything that helps Zimbabweans experience better service is very important. We see people as people, and we seek to dignify our interactions with each other with respect and an intention to add value. At ZB, we see the state of the service economy survey as the true voice of all our shared customers in Zimbabwe. Accordingly, we want to extend our special thanks to Top Line Research Solutions. Thank you so much for all the work that you have done. The Financial Gazette, Tattoo Advertising, all of whom have played a significant role in conducting the survey, analyzing the results, and supporting the process. Your dedication and hard work was instrumental in making this survey a success. A special thank you to our guest of honor, Professor Mandivamba Rukuni. Prof, you brought life to this event. You speak well. I want to be like you one day. Thank you to the ZB board members present today. A big thank you to our Group Chief Executive Officer, Dr. Fungura, and the executives who graced this occasion. All our invited guests who made this time to attend, we greatly appreciate your presence. The event directors, you speak well, and you have made this a success. We really appreciate you, AZB. The hosts are Golden Conifer. This has been a beautiful venue for our event. We appreciate. The entertainment has been good. The band Mokomba, very, very good act up front. I hope we'll see the best of you when you come back to the stage. The organizing team led by the chairman, Martin Matamisa, sir. A job well done. Colleagues, this one is not my part. I work with a consultant, and this consultant is passionate about the customer. So when I showed him my vote of thanks, he just jumped to my chair and said, "There's something you left, and I want you to do it this way." So I'll ask all of you to be upstanding. to do this with me. I want all of you to say these words after me. Thank you to the customer who has spent time in a queue somewhere. I really appreciate you. May take your seats. Colleagues, once again, thank you to each and every one of you for your valuable presence. For ZB, your feedback is vital to our ongoing efforts to serve you better. Just as well, please note the full report will be made available in due course by the Financial Gazette, represented here by the Managing Director and our avid partner, Mr. Louis Chikurune. Louis, if you may be upstanding. Thank you so much. We are committed to keep you informed about the service actions we will take based on the survey results you have just heard, and we look forward to continuing to work together to achieve our common good customer service goals. We remain thankful to our leadership for leading the way in making the brand ZB Financial Holdings a leading player in the Zimbabwe financial services sector through service. With all stakeholders' continued support and with this groundbreaking survey, the ZB story will be amplified and certainly will continue this survey annually going forward. With that contribution, we hope the world shall remember us at ZB as a thought leader in service, a customer-centric brand, and a nation builder. So, colleagues, we commit ourselves as ZB to continue with this survey in the years to come, and hope we build from what you will get out of the inaugural report. Once again, thank you, and have a memorable night onwards. The party has just begun, and I think the MC has got something in store for us. Let me not spoil the evening. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Shumba. A very thorough vote of thanks. And we'll just say as MCs that the true vote of thanks for us will come when we are on your stage again this time next year.
Absolutely. Next year. Actually, he said in the years to come.
In the years to come. Thank you so much. Now we'd like to call Professor, if you could please, Professor Rukuni, if you could join us on the stage as our guest of honor.
Let's give him a big round of applause as he comes.
Can we also just further honor him for staying until the very end, right? Because we've been to some events where there's those other honorable guests of honor who have to run away halfway through the program. So we want to thank him that he stayed till the very end. So we want to thank you. ZB would like to thank you. So I'd like to call onto the stage now Dr. Fungura, our group CEO. And if also Emilia could come out from the shadows, who's been running around putting things together, please come and let us thank our guest of honor together, Majita. May I ask you to use this podium, this stage here, Anditi, for photographers, maybe right here, yes. You may stand in the middle and receive your gift. I don't know if you want to whisper a few words on the mic. Emilia or Doc? Emilia.
Thank you so much. May I also follow what the previous speakers have done by saying all protocol observed. It is an honor to be able to give this vote of thanks to you, Professor. And thank you so much for being passionate about our brand. It's all about smiles, and we hope that we have managed to put a smile on your face with the gift that we are giving to you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
So before you go, gentlemen, Rufeneko, I think these two men need a photo with us. We don't need it. They do.
They need it with
Yeah,
us,
so-
100%. Absolutely.
All
I'll
right,
break
there
the
we
black
go.
and stand
Let's-
right in the middle.
That's
Amelia,
right. So
Amelia.
where we facing? That way?
Which camera?
There we go.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, I'm with up X and on Facebook. Yeah, tag me, okay? Thank you so much. I'm just gonna get thank you. Thank you, Prof. Thank you very, very much.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, tonight has been absolutely phenomenal. And as we are getting last minute information, we just want to let you know that we have with us, as we are about to come to a wonderful close, we have been asked to invite you all to what we are calling a happy hour, which means we would like to hang out with you. Let's have drinks together. Let's get to know each other. And maybe you can give us some insights about what your service economy looks like.
And while we all do that and enjoy our evening and mingle, I'd like to invite all the top table members, the execs, the group CEO, you know yourselves, please join us on the stage for a group photo to mark this auspicious occasion and the launch of your legacy tonight. So please join us all on stage while the rest of our guests and delegates continue to mingle. Enjoy the rest of the evening, Maitabasa. It's been a pleasure hosting you. Tap,
Absolutely.
it's been a pleasure working with you.
It's been my pleasure as well. And there's always
Yeah.
one thing I like to say.
Say
Merry
it.
Christmas and a Happy New Year.
And a Happy New Year. It is that season already. Merry Christmas. It's also the season to send emails to say, let's pick this up in January. All right?
Good night, everybody.
Good night. Be good. And if you can't be good, be safe.